Hi, my name's Jerry and I'm an alcoholic addict. I'm here today to tell you my experience with drug addiction and recovery and suicide has become part of my story. In the year 2000, with 7 years of sobriety, I suffered a brain injury. I had encephalitis. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. For 9 days, I was in a coma. When I came out of the coma, I had to relearn how to read, how to write, how to type, how to drive a car. I went through occupational therapy and tried for several months to go back to work, but they told me that the injuries and my progress was as far as I was going to get, that it was permanent. And so I had to go on disability. And going on disability at 40 years old took a lot of my sense of self-worth out of me. My sense of self-worth at that age and that time was wrapped up in my career, and I could no longer do that. So I wound up going back out for a few months, and came a time when my dad became disabled. He was getting on in years. He became disabled, and so I moved in with him to help him out, and he would help me out. And I got, after a few months of being out again, I got right back into meetings. I got right back into service. Eventually, within a few months, I was going to meetings every day. I always had a service position, at least one, sometimes more than one, because I like overkill. And then along about 2009, I kept doing this for all those years. And in 2009 began a series of surgeries. I had 9 surgeries over a 6-year period. And they gave me opioid painkillers. Needless to say, as an addict alcoholic, I became addicted to those painkillers fairly quickly. And they took over my life to the point where I quit going to meetings. I turned off my phone. This was landlines back in the day. I turned off my phone. I didn't answer my door. I kept the blinds closed. It was just me and my dad. I shut everybody else out of my life. And I became addicted to those painkillers, and it got pretty bad. It got to where I was crushing and snorting Percocet. I was on Dilaudid and fentanyl, which are really, really strong opioids. And I was a complete zombie. By 2013, from 2013 through 2016, I was in bed 20 hours a day. My life was popping pills and just trying to escape. Just laying in bed and watching Netflix. In November 2016, after 3 years of this behavior, in November 2016, my dad's health took a turn for the worse. He went into the hospital where he died 10 days later. The day after he died, I had to put a pet down that I'd had for 14 years. And I knew that I was going to be having to, without thinking I had another choice, I thought I was going to have to be moving back to Texas, where I left my family of origin 26 years ago, because they didn't get me and I didn't get them. So I was faced with not only the loss of my father and my pet, but moving down to Texas, away from the familiar, to be around people that just didn't get me. So Thanksgiving evening, I took several handfuls of pills, a variety of pills, several handfuls, and went to bed, expecting not to wake up, but I did wake up. My body had become so used to drugs that I couldn't even kill myself with an overdose. So I decided I would slash my wrists, and I ran a tub full of water, because that's how I saw them do it on TV. And I got in the tub and I tried to slash my wrists, but I couldn't go deep enough. I couldn't hit a vein. I've been told I have rolling veins. That didn't work. So I decided to slash my neck. I don't know if you can see it, but there I got a big scar here and a big scar over here. That side wasn't bleeding fast enough, so I tried to do the other side. And I expected to bleed out in that tub of water, but my ex-half-brother, I call him my ex-half-brother, decided to come over that morning instead of that evening, and he found me. And I wound up in the hospital, and I was in the ICU for a week, and then in the hospital for another week after that. I was 5150 to behavioral health. How close did I come to dying? the vascular surgeon said I came within 1 millimeter of my carotid. So that's how close I came to dying, was 1 millimeter. From behavioral health, I moved into a sober living environment where I was there for a year. One of the requirements was that I go to 3 meetings a week at least, and that I get a sponsor and work the steps. And I knew the drill. I'd been in the program before, but I'd never hit bottom before. This time I hit bottom, and I went to meetings 90 and 90 to start out. After 4 months, I got a sponsor, and I worked the steps with that sponsor. He moved away, so I got another sponsor, and I worked the steps with that sponsor. In a 3.5-year period, it's been 3.5 years since my suicide attempt and my bottom. I've had 14 service positions in 3.5 years. I have a new sponsor because my previous sponsor was not real big book oriented, so I have a new sponsor who is. And I'm on step 1 again, which is powerlessness. But I tell you what's different this time. What's different for me are the connections that I've made. I've always heard them say, let us love you till you can learn to love yourself. And I never believed them. But it's true. I never loved myself like I do now. I never loved my life like I do now. I love my life. And it is recovery that made the difference. It is the people in the program that made the difference. And if I'd like to finish up with a paragraph out of the chapter in the big book, chapter 7, Working with Others. Think of me in a tub of bloody water. That was the life I left behind. My life today, life will take on new meaning. To watch people recover, to see them help others, to watch loneliness vanish, to see a fellowship grow up about you, to have a host of friends. This is an experience you must not miss. We know you will not want to miss it. Frequent contact with newcomers and with each other is the bright spot of our lives. That's what gives me hope today. And that's what I hope you can take away from this, is that there is hope no matter how far down the scale you have gone. Your experience can benefit others. I'm Jerry, I'm an alcoholic. Thanks for listening.